Hi, and welcome to this Verbling class on political street art. I have previously taught one Verbling class about street art because this is something that I'm interested in. And today I thought I would teach a related class, but this class will be more discussion-based because I want to talk about art and self-expression, specifically political self-expression, and how street art can help us do that. And this is something that I think is pretty modern, pretty relevant. Self-expression is important and is still limited in a lot of countries. And so some countries allow more street art than other countries. But what's interesting about street art is that anyone can do it. And that's why it can be a very powerful political tool, because even though street art is illegal, people engage in it anyways. Just to define what I'm talking about first, street art is also called graffiti. When people paint on walls in public places, this is defined as street art. And obviously not all graffiti is really very much considered art, but we use these two definitions a little bit interchangeably when we talk about these topics. So I'll be using the word street art, but what I'm really referring to is any graffiti that's painted on walls in a public place. So it can be graffiti, it can just be people's names, or it can be paintings, it can be very beautiful art. So there's a very big range of what's called street art, but we'll be talking about pretty much any art in the public sphere today when we talk about street art. And I want to leave a lot of room for discussion in this class. I want to hear about examples of politically motivated art and street art in your country. I want to hear about how the government controls street art and what happens there. And I would also like to share with you a couple of examples from my own life. The class is now open to join, so click the Join Class button to join us today. If you don't make it into the class, you can watch the video feed, or you can watch the video feed now or the recorded version later. And if you want to make sure you're getting into the classes that you want to get into, check out Verbling Premium by clicking the Get Reservations tab at the top of your Verbling page. I highly encourage you to do that because it's the best way to get the best Verbling experience possible. All right, good. Now we have a full class, so we're going to get started with our introductions, and then we'll move into the class material. I'm leaving this class pretty open today because I want to give you all some speaking practice. I have some pictures we can look at, but besides that, I want to hear from all of you. And first, let's introduce ourselves. So my name is Libby. I'm American, but I live in France now. I teach English to French high school students as a second language, and I also teach on Verbling. And from each of you today, I would like to hear your name, your country, and I would like to hear, let's see, your favorite snack food. I'm feeling a little hungry, so we'll talk about that. Your favorite snack food. So my name is Libby. I'm in France, and my favorite snack food is, I have a lot, but I really like pretzels. I think pretzels are my favorite snack food. Sometimes I dip pretzels in peanut butter. Very popular food in my country, pretzels and peanut butter. So that's probably my favorite snack food. So let's see. Let's go through the introductions. Name, country, and favorite snack food, your favorite food to eat in between meals. And we'll start with Avni. Avni, are you here?
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. My name is Avni. I am from Turkey. My favorite food is bean.
Beans?
Beans, yes.
Good, excellent. Okay, cool.
And rice. Rice. Rice.
That's what I had for dinner last night. I had rice and beans. It was great.
Yes, yes.
All right, cool. Thank you. Next is Carlos.
Okay, my name is Carlos. I'm from Colombia, and my favorite snack is something that is called arepa. It's something typical of Colombia.
And what is it made with?
Arepa is made of corn.
Hmm.
They make like corn, but into small pieces, and they make a maze. It's like a maze,
Hmm.
and you can put in the arepa cheese or meat, some meat or chicken, and there is very different forms to make uh, this arepa.
Okay, I just remembered I've had arepas before. It was in California. I was in the U.S., but they were really good. There's like a South American cafe that makes them, and they're delicious. Cool.
Yes.
I'm sure they're much better in your country, but the American version was pretty good too. All right,
Yes, it is very typical of here.
cool. All right, thank you. Next is Dennis.
Yes, yes. Hi, Libby.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how everyone? Um, I'm not bad, not so bad. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm from Russia. I'm from Moscow, or to be more precise, near Moscow. And and so, do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. And what's your favorite snack food?
Snack food. Mm, I don't know. Maybe I don't have favorite snack food. I prefer to eat normally.
Okay, good. So
Uh,
you like you
no,
like you
no,
like
not
meals.
not snack, but a real meal. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. All right, cool. Thanks. Let's see. And then next we have Goliath.
Hello.
Hi, could you tell us your name, country, and favorite snack food?
Before that, I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Parlez-vous français?
Ouais, je parle français. Yeah,
Okay,
I
I'm
learned French when I
Algerian.
was in France.
I was just kidding. I'm from Algeria, and what else? What questions you asked?
What is your favorite snack food?
My favorite snack is a pizza. Actually, it's light, and we are talking about snack, huh? It's light,
Yes.
and it doesn't make a lot to be cooked. When I order a pizza, it's fast, so I don't
Yes.
have to wait. So that's it. That's it.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And next we have Mohammed.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, could
Yes.
you tell us your country and your favorite snack food?
Okay, I'm Muhammad. I'm from Syria. My favorite snack food is food. It's popular here in my country.
Cool. All right, thanks. Next we have Raphael.
Hello, good morning for everyone. I'm Rafael. I'm from Spain, from Madrid, the capital. And my favorite snack food is called tapa. It's very famous here and in other countries. You can eat in a bar or in a restaurant at 11 or 12 in the morning. And it's made a slice of bread with ham or cheese or many things, and it's a little piece of bread, and it's very nice to eat. Tapas.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Servet is next.
Oh, hello. I'm Saad. I am from Turkey. And this food, normally, I don't think it's a snack food, but because I ate it in between your two classes. I would call it today's snack food. It's made of eggplants. You know, first of all, you bake the eggplants, or you like cook it on fire. So it gives a very good taste. So then you peel the like the black part. You peel it and you fry it a little bit. Some salt or something is good.
Yeah,
If you
that sounds
want,
awesome.
I can give you the recipe if you want after the
Yes,
class.
I love eggplant, so that sounds great. All right, thank you.
Specifically when you do it like in like under like a barbecue or above fire, it gives it a good taste. That's fine.
Yeah.
Anyways, you
Okay,
are
cool.
hungry. I
Yeah,
guess.
now I'm hungrier. Thanks a lot. Yeah. All right. So, thank you, everyone. It's nice to meet those of you who are new, and nice to see those of you who are my returning students. All right, so let's talk about art, and more specifically, street art. Like I said during the beginning, this is something that I am personally interested in. I used to live in Berlin just for 6 months in Berlin, Germany. And Berlin, Germany has a very interesting history when it comes to street art. And I previously taught a Verblin class specifically about the history of street art in Berlin. So I won't spend the whole class on that today. But that's the reason for my personal interest in this topic. Berlin has a very unique history when it comes to street art because of the Berlin Wall. From the 1960s to late 1960s to the late 1980s, there was a wall that divided the city of Berlin in half.
From 61.
Was it 60? Yeah, okay.
61.
Okay, 61 till 1989, and so this wall divided the city in half, and half of Berlin was controlled by the Allied powers, and half was controlled by the Soviet Union. And when the wall fell down, people were finally able to travel and freely express themselves. Self-expression was finally allowed in all of Berlin, and people could travel where they wanted and do art where they wanted and do graffiti where they wanted. So in Berlin, graffiti came to symbolize freedom. People chose to paint on walls and to do graffiti because they wanted to show their personal freedom. And because of that, Berlin is covered in graffiti still. There's a lot of street art in Berlin. And this street art is interesting because it's usually beautiful. It looks good. And it is usually not associated with gangs or with violence. In a lot of cities, graffiti is associated with gang activity or violent groups or crime. In Berlin, it's not associated with that stuff. It's just associated with freedom and liberty and self-expression. So it's become a very important city for street art. But there are also a lot of other important places in the world for street art and a lot of important street artists. And that's why I wanted to do this class today, because I want to talk to all of you about street art in your country. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about the people who do graffiti and why they choose to do graffiti. Like I said, some graffiti can be very ugly. Some graffiti does not look very good. And some graffiti is very beautiful and can definitely be considered to be art. And so the definition of art is a little bit subjective, but let's assume that all graffiti is considered art in some way. And I want to talk about, first, what motivates people to do graffiti. Why does someone buy paint and then go illegally paint on a wall somewhere? Because it's against the law, why do people still choose to do it? What do you think?
May I start?
Yes, please go ahead, Sabit.
Yes. First of all, I want to share my first experience. I didn't do this, but like I was with my friend a few years ago, not a few, after high school. like in a reunion. He was talking and it was kind of light, and he said, "Let's buy some paint and do some graffiti." I didn't want to turn him down. We couldn't find some because it was kind of late. We didn't do it, but I guess the first reason is maybe like an experience, kind of something adrenaline filled. Let's do something crazy, this type of thing. And also being illegal ignites in this emotion. The second part, I think, is the feeling of expressing yourself in public. Yeah, different type of things. For example, I recently watched a TED Talk. There is a wall. On this wall, people write, "Before I die, I want to do this." Like there are gaps, you fill in the gaps with a chalk. So I think expressing yourself in public is another kind of reason for graffiti, especially like you said, like in Germany, people used to express themselves on this wall. We want to do it, I think, publicly, some things, just to scream. It's important to do. It's important for our psychology, because when you feel, I don't know, when people we want to share, I think, we need to socialize. This is another kind of way to socialize and share our ideas. So I think it's one of the main reasons.
Yeah, good. So people are social, and it's natural as a human to want to share our ideas. And art, street art, is one way to do this. It's one way to express yourself in public. I've also seen that TED Talk about the "before I die, I want to blah, blah, blah."
Yes.
And it's interesting because street art is also, in some ways, anonymous. So you can write something on a wall and nobody has to know that it's you who wrote it. And sometimes people use that as a way to express themselves if they don't maybe feel comfortable saying it to one person. Maybe they can just express it to everyone anonymously. They can express it without anyone knowing who they are. And that's an interesting part of street art as well.
Yes.
All right, cool. And as you said before, also just the motivation to take a risk, to do something crazy. People like to, like to do illegal things sometimes, and this is an example of when people like to be a little crazy. Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. What other motivations do people have for creating street art?
If I may, I think anyone's need to self-express her ideas by any way, and this society can't impede to express many ideas, and the people need to express in walls or in any kind of situation. Many times I miss another ways to express our ideas, because it's interesting to draw a wall, but also I miss when people can express by theater or in public, make poems. This I think this society is very established in the way that we can express ourselves. But a long time ago, in my country at least, there are another ways to express ourselves, by theater, with theater in the street, with poems and writers saying things in the street. I think it's a good way to express. Summarizing.
Good. Okay, so society sometimes limits the ways we can express ourselves, and street art is a really good alternative way to express yourself. And you're right, I think we need to express ourselves in multiple ways, right? We can express ourselves by speaking, by writing, by theater or performance, and also by art. And it's It's by expressing ourselves a variety of different ways that we really feel like we show ourselves to the world. Good. So street art is an important part of that.
I think there is another reason.
Good. Go ahead. What do you think?
I think they want to leave a trace or a print of their art.
Good. So they want to.
They do exist one day. So there's people
Hi.
who leave a trace that when people watch this painting, they said, who did that? So it's like in French, in chef d'oeuvre. I don't know how to say it.
It's we actually say masterpiece in English.
Masterpiece, yes. Masterpiece that show that like a pride. I did that. That's it. Kind of achievement.
Good, excellent. So people want to create something to leave for the world. And we use the expression in English, to make your mark on the world. That means to leave the trace, leave something that people can see, and to create the French. We actually do say sometimes chef d'oeuvre in English to express that. It's kind of like a masterpiece, but it's like it's a work of art that really that represents you, that other people can see, and it's so good. So street art is one way to make your mark on the world in public. Good, excellent. Okay, what other reasons do people make street art?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Good, thank you. All right, so who else has something to say about this? We've talked about people make street art because they want to do something crazy, because they want to make their mark on the world, because they want to express themselves, because they want to show certain ideas. Any other reasons you can think of that people make street art?
I think. Oh, sorry. I think there is, in my opinion, could be another issue. I think it's a kind of protest against the society nowadays, a kind of protest. And also, I think, at least in my city, there are people. So it's very narcissistic, and they want to put his name in the top of the building with stars and. But I think it's not a art street. It's a graffiti. It's my opinion.
Good. Okay. So there are two good points there. One is people use art as a form of protest to say something that they don't like about the society, and but also that street art can be narcissistic. It can be self-centered. Yeah. Narcissistic means self-centered. So people who just care about themselves sometimes want to paint their name or something on a wall just to show everyone that they could do it, right? People just do it for self-centered or narcissistic reasons. Good. Those are two really important reasons. Tuana, can you make sure to move your microphone away from your face, because when you breathe, it's very loud for everyone. All right. Anyone else have thoughts about reasons for creating street art?
I think art generally is kind of, we can consider a general art, more large, in a larger viewpoint.
Yeah.
We want to, we have desire to live forever, but when we can't do it, we want to leave something behind us to be memorized by other people. So street art is kind of a part of this, we sometimes like to leave a piece of art, sometimes a kind of building for charity, this kind of things. In some kind of religions also you have like people, if you leave something good and people utilize, take this thing, you still kind of, you have like good, what's going on here?
Okay, good. So the desire to sort of live on and create something that lives longer than you do. That's why a lot of artists choose to create art, and that's why a lot of people make street art too. Okay, my next question for everyone is, what makes street art different from other forms of art? Why is street art different from, for instance, making paintings or sculptures? What makes street art so different from other kinds of art?
I think this kind of, I don't know, is art, but I think the motivation of art is create something.
Hi.
But in this case, they are creating, but
Hi.
also they are destroying something.
Okay,
Hi, Rafael.
and in what way are they destroying something?
Because they destroyed the harmony in a wall. For instance, in my city in Eastern, always they have to paint all the historical center because of these graffitis painted in the paint in the wall.
There are a lot of
walls.
noise, teacher.
Yeah, I'm working on it. That should help.
Thank you.
All right, good. So people who create street art want to create something, but they also end up destroying something because they don't respect public property. And sometimes governments need to spend a lot of money to keep people from and to repair when people paint places that they're not supposed to. So even though sometimes street art can be very positive and express a lot of ideas, it can also sometimes be negative because it can destroy things that were otherwise beautiful. So there are good and bad things about street art. So let's talk more specifically about that. I want to talk about politically motivated street art today. That means I want to talk about when people choose to do street art for political reasons. What are some political reasons that people might choose to do graffiti?
Elections.
Good, elections. And what kind of graffiti might people make during an election season?
The slogan, I don't know in English, but slogan of the party or the motto of the elected one. I don't know
Good,
if you hear me.
good. So, yes, I can hear you. So, I know I'm working on muting people and ejecting people who keep being loud. So hopefully it gets better. All right. So yeah. So during elections, people can make graffiti that says their views. People can make graffiti that advocates a certain candidate or a certain political party.
Yes, that I was looking for this word.
Yeah. Good. So yeah, a candidate is someone who wants to be elected. Candidate, political party, a certain idea. Good. So graffiti and political street art can happen during elections. Okay. What other examples?
Sometimes they put their slogan. They say for freedom or to fight jobless. To fight poverty.
Oh yeah, poverty.
Put this in the walls.
Good. So often people can paint campaign slogans on walls that include the political goals, like reducing poverty or encouraging freedom. Excellent.
Promises. Promises.
Yeah, good. Campaign promises.
I can think of two more points. One point is, in street art, it's more likely to be seen more people, because if other people are not interested in art, they won't go to art galleries, then they won't see your art, so you won't convey your idea or politic or any kind of things. The other thing is, I think, as you said, this is kind of anonymous thing. Specifically, if there's no enough speech freedom in the country, you can just draw it on the wall, nobody will know who you are, and you will be able to express your idea without having regrets if I will be like questioned because of this work, because nobody will know you.
Good. Okay, these are really important points that I was hoping someone would bring up. Street art is free, right? Even though it's illegal to paint on a wall, people do it anyway, and it doesn't cost you anything. So you can create art that people can see, and it doesn't really cost you any money. You don't need to pay for a studio. You don't need to pay for a gallery. So it's free. And also, if the government in your country restricts self-expression, if you live in a country where you're not allowed to express yourself through art or music, then maybe making street art is one of the only ways you can express yourself in public. If you paint on a wall at night or something, you can, and nobody will know it was you. Good. So street art can be anonymous, and in that way, you can express yourself in different ways in a country that might not otherwise let you express yourself. All right, good. So we've talked about a lot of really good reasons for motivation for street art. So,
but I think,
let's.
if
Oh, yeah,
I
go
may,
ahead.
yeah,
Yeah,
if I may, I think we need to differentiate three kinds of topics in this issue. The first one is graffiti. I agree with Carlos when he says that there are many cities that it's horrible to see it because there are a lot of graffiti in the historical squares and historical parts of the city, and there are a lot of graffiti that that is not, in my opinion, there is no any beauty in that, and also difference from art street. Art street, I think it could be a beauty. Have to give something to the city, to give something nice to the environment, because there are a lot of graffiti or that destroy the environment, and I think that difference is important to make a difference. What is the point? You know, I don't know. And in the other hand, in my opinion, another kind is when you want to express political ideas in that way. But I don't know how you can express political ideas in an art, in an street art. If you could give us some examples, I'd be very grateful.
Okay, so the first point you made is
Hi,
that
Carlos.
a lot of street art can be damaging, and that it's not necessarily a good influence on the environment. And I think that's a very good point. Sorry, give me a second. Anyone who is joining this hangout and creating background noise and not participating, I would ask you to leave. We're having a lot of issues with users who are not muting themselves, and I will have to block you from Hangouts if you continue to do this. So please mute yourselves when you're not speaking, or you may be blocked from future Verbling classes. So thank you for that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
Can we say anesthetic? Is there any? Because I'm confused.
Can we what?
An aesthetic view on the environment. When something is not good to see, can we say anesthetic? Not aesthetic.
So if something is not aesthetic, if it's not aesthetically pleasing, you can refer to it as I would say maybe I'm not sure what the opposite of the aesthetic is. but let's see, unaesthetic maybe, not aesthetic. It's what I would say. I'll type it 1 second. Sorry, it'll mute me, but it's not aesthetically pleasing.
That's
So,
it. It does exist. Okay.
yes. So if something does not look good, we can say that it's not aesthetically pleasing. Okay, good. So let's go back to the point that Raphael made. So there's a lot of street art that's not aesthetically pleasing because it's not art, right? It's just graffiti. So it's important to draw a distinction between the graffiti that's just vandalism, that's not useful, and the graffiti that maybe is more beautiful and more like art, and maybe that kind of graffiti can send a political message. And so it's important to draw a distinction, a difference between those two types of art. The problem is that's not very easy. It's hard to say which graffiti is art and which graffiti is not, because sometimes people who make graffiti believe that it's art, and sometimes people who look at the graffiti do not think it's art. So the difference between vandalism and art is hard to understand. I think maybe a general definition is that vandalism is ugly and art is beautiful. Vandalism is not aesthetically pleasing and art is aesthetically pleasing. The problem is that people have different opinions about what that means. For the last 20 minutes, I want to give you guys some examples of things that I think we would all agree is considered art. These are examples of street artists, many of them with political motivations. And so it's a pretty good article, and it has pictures, 25 different picture-based examples of political street artists. So I gave you the link there in the VerbLink classes, and the title of this article is Street Art, 25 Incredible Examples. And I'll put it on the screen share so you can see it. You also have the link there in the VerbLink classes chat. These are examples of the second category we talked about, the aesthetic, good, beautiful kind of art that people make in the street. And I think this will help us better define what we mean by political street art. Underneath here it says, street art is evolving into new and exciting areas of creativity. Find out just what the world's leading street artists have come up with lately. I'm going to read the first couple paragraphs, and then we'll be discussing a couple of these examples for the last 20 minutes of class. So the first paragraph says, across the globe, street art has never been more popular or more relevant. Although the term is often associated with graffiti, it comes in all shapes and forms, from sculptures to yarn bombing. In this article, we've gathered together the work of our favorite inspirational street artists, featuring some well-known faces, as well as some you may not have heard of, but will want to hear more about. Some just want to brighten up their neighborhoods, while others have political points to make. But whatever their motivation, we think what they've produced is simply incredible. So these are examples of street art that's not really graffiti or vandalism. It's very much artists creating art. These are people who want to leave their mark on the world and want to create something beautiful. And I think it's very interesting to read about them because a lot of them have different motivations for doing their art. Some are political motivations. So I think this is good reading practice and also good practice discussing these different artists. So the first artist this page talks about his name is J.R. And here's a picture of J.R.'s artwork. It's a man's face painted on a wall. And there are a couple of paragraphs about this artist that I would like one of you to read. Who would like to read these two paragraphs about J.R. for the class?
Okay.
You choose.
All right, go ahead, Mohammed.
Yes. French photographer and artist G.R.'s political street art began during the Paris riots of 2005, injured by the way the areas involved were being presented in the media. He took photos of the residents pulling funny faces and fly posted them around the city. Continue?
Yes, please continue.
His passion field, often dedicated artwork has since appeared in deprived areas,
Yeah, good.
areas across the world, from the suburbs of Paris to the shanty towns of Rio. He's also been arrested in China, and in 2011 was awarded the TED Prize, worth uh, 100,000.
Yes, good. $100,000.
$100,000. You can see more of this incredible work of his website.
All right, thank you so much. Good. So this is this website's choice for their #1 favorite street artist, and so this couple of paragraphs describes this guy JR, and he started his art in 2005, and he started it because he was angered by how the media was showing people in the riots around Paris. Does anyone know why there were riots in Paris in 2005? Does anyone remember why those riots happened?
It was in the suburb of Paris.
Good, yes. It was in the suburbs of Paris. And
they burned
what
everything
people, yeah.
because they were claiming of there was injustice and a bit of racism. And most of them was had originally Arabic and black originality. I would say
origins.
Origins, yes. So and it was Sarkozy, I think, that time.
Yeah, I think it was. So it was in the areas around Paris in 2005. There was a lot of unrest.
Lyon also.
Yeah, and in other parts of France as well. There was a lot of unrest, largely from immigrant populations, people who whose parents or grandparents or people who themselves had come to France from other countries. And many of these people were Arab or black minorities, and there were riots because they believed there was injustice towards them. So there was a lot of cars that were burned, there was a lot of general rioting in those areas in 2005. So I think this artist is very interesting because these people were rioting, they were upset, and he was angry about the way they were being presented in the media because the media was presenting these people as criminals, as people who were violent and angry and dangerous. But this artist believed that these people were just trying to get their rights, that they were just trying to, you know, they were frustrated and angry, but they had good reason to be angry. And so he wanted people to see them in a more positive light. And he, in order to do that, he used his art, and he used photos of their faces, more specifically them making funny faces. So them doing funny things with their expressions. And he put those photographs around the city. And ever since then, his art has been similar. He tries to help tries to help deprived people express, you know, he tries to express the needs of deprived people, people who are poor or people who have less than other people.
But I don't
And
understand this photo or this graffiti because it was an old man, but the right was made by young youth people. So
I think this particular painting is not from 2005. I think it's more recent. I'm not sure what city this is from, but it might not necessarily be in France. It could be in China, for instance, or so. I'm guessing this. It's a good point. This example that's shown, I think, is not from France. I think it's from a different country. So it expresses a different political point. There's one vocabulary word I want to go over from this section, which is didactic. It said his passion-filled, often didactic artwork. Does anyone know what the word didactic means?
Instructive.
Yeah, to
Good.
teach, similar to teach something, to teach.
to teach a moral lesson.
Excellent. Good. So didactic means instructive. It means it teaches something or teaches a moral lesson. And so his artwork tries to teach a moral lesson by showing the needs of underprivileged people, of poor people, of deprived people.
It just
And
shows compassion. It feels like it stimulates your compassion in this photo. Maybe, I don't know. I feel that way.
yes, good. So by using human faces, he really does stimulate people's compassion. He wants people to feel for other people. I agree. I think that's what his goal is. I think it's kind of funny that he was arrested in China. Why do you think he was arrested in China?
He was painting in the government wall.
Probably. I don't know, but I mean, I would imagine that the Chinese government is probably not very happy about him making huge paintings on walls. So, yeah. So it seems that he's okay now, but he was indeed arrested in China. All right.
In China, in my opinion, in China, you could be arrested for everything. If you see internet, the last day we stay here in the Berlin chat without Chinese. That it was illegal to join to Berlin in China. He said you can be arrested for everything.
Yes, the Chinese government does not give a lot of freedom of communication or self-expression to its citizens. Yeah, I'm always very proud of our Chinese Verbling users because they find ways to get around their government to come join us. So that always makes me happy.
And yeah, the police also is so strict in China. I saw like a few things. I don't know. They are chosen like as the most strict police. They have like sticks. They hit people. They don't. I don't know. They are very tough police.
Yes. Yeah. So this is an example of a country where self-expression is very limited, and the government and the police are very strict. So, not surprising that he would have been arrested there. All right, let's talk about one or two more artists before we finish class today. Number 2 on this blog's list is a guy named C125 or C125. So would someone like to read these paragraphs about him?
Yes.
Go ahead, Servet.
Another street artist hailing from Paris, C215, aka Christian Gumi, uses stencils to produce beautiful street art depicting vulnerable and marginalized groups of society, including refugees, street children, and the elderly. Since creating his first work over 20 years ago, he has developed a huge following. His street art can be spotted in galleries, auctions, and on streets all over the world, in cities including Barcelona and London. There is some great examples of it on this Flickr account.
Good. Okay. So I don't know. There must have been a typo. Let's see. Yeah, his name is actually C215, not C125. There's a typo in the title, but and he's French, and he uses stencils. So a stencil is when you have an outline of a design and you spray paint onto it, then you remove the stencil and the design stays there. So this design you can see in this photograph was created by spraying around stencils, most likely. And he depicts, depict means to show. His art depicts vulnerable and marginalized groups of society. Let's go over that vocabulary. What does the word vulnerable mean?
Easily hurt.
Yeah, people don't have like guns, any kind of power to defend themselves.
Yeah, people
Very weak
also,
adjective for this.
people who is in risk of something, in risk of be damaged, poverty or vulnerable. Yeah.
Good. So people who can be easily vulnerable means easily hurt, or susceptible to being hurt or harmed. And so vulnerable people in society are people who are poor, for instance, people who are discriminated against, people who do not have a lot. They don't have a lot, and they are, good. Defenseless is it's a good synonym. They're defenseless. They don't really have a good way to defend themselves because they're not very powerful. So he depicts these vulnerable groups in society and marginalized groups. More specifically, what does the word marginalized mean?
To be excluded from the scene.
Excellent, good. When we use the noun margins, the margins of a page are the sides of the page. So when you have a page of writing, the margins are the parts on the sides where there's no writing. And so when we use the adjective marginalized, it literally means pushed to the outside. These people are pushed to the margins because they
Neglected.
Yeah, good. They're neglected and they're excluded from society. So this guy works on depicting the people who are poor, who are not powerful, and who are excluded and pushed to the edges of society. Can you give me any examples of groups of people in society who are vulnerable and marginalized? What kind of people do you think he works on depicting?
Homeless and jobless, maybe.
Good. Homeless people and jobless people. People who have no home and people who have no job. Excellent. Good.
Kids, children, very vulnerable, are very.
Good. Children, and especially children who are homeless or children who do not have parents. Does anyone know the name for children who do not have living parents?
No.
Orphans.
Good. Or
What is C215?
you mean what does it stand for? What does it mean?
Yes. What it means.
I'm not sure. I just clicked on his name to see if I could figure out, but I can't tell from his page.
Is it a place?
Maybe is he anonymous like artist?
Maybe the street name? Or
Yeah, it's his street name, but I'm not sure why he chose that particular street name. It could be, it could be an address. It could have to do with a phone number. It could have to do with a code of an area where he lives. I'm not sure.
I heard in Paris there is arrondissement, but I never heard about C or I don't know.
Yeah, it's and there's only 20 arrondissements in Paris, so I don't know where he would have gotten. But I'm sure it's a lot of the street art. It's hard to figure out. Even if you Google it, you might not be able to find it. A lot of street artists intentionally conceal their identity, their real identity. They conceal their why they choose their names or why they make their art. It's a very secret kind of art.
Anonymous.
Yeah, it's because street art is often anonymous. It's sort of the nature of street art to be secret and to be anonymous. A famous street artist that is not that we'll not talk about today really is Banksy. Banksy is British, I believe, and his identity is secret. Nobody knows his real name. People only know his street name, and even though he has made movies, he sells his artwork and all this, he never shows his face in public, so nobody knows who he is, which is interesting.
A shadow man.
Yes, he is. He's a shadow man for sure. Yeah. So this article goes on to list a lot more examples of street art. I would encourage you to look, even just look through the pictures, because it's really interesting to see the different images these artists create, and then the paragraphs give a really good brief description of why they make them. And I think it's cool to see, we talked about how a lot of graffiti is vandalism and it's ugly, but this article is a good way to see the other side of graffiti and of street art, and to see these artists who are really using the art to make a difference in the world. And I think it's very interesting to read through. Any other last questions before we finish today?
I have an opinion. When I see this picture, it's awesome. It's very nice, in my opinion, and it's better than I thought because it's very beautiful. And I think we need this in our cities, but no graffitis. Graffitis is, I think, is a horrible and ugly thing that damage our cities. But this is very nice.
Good. Yeah, actually, I recently visited Lisbon, Portugal, and that city's government is providing money for street art projects like this as an urban rejuvenation project. So the government is funding street art, just like you said, as a way to make the city more beautiful, and they're also cracking down on individual graffitiing. So they're trying to make more art like this in their city, which I think is a really good program, and I think more cities should do it.
Good,
so it's interesting.
if it's controlled.
Yes, exactly. When it's controlled, street art can be very beautiful, but when it's not, it can be pretty ugly.
A mess.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. All right. Thank you all for your participation and for your patience with some of the sound issues today. And I appreciate your work, and I hope to see you soon. If you haven't yet, my Facebook page is facebook.com/LibbyVerbling. So like that for more updates. And I'll be giving very few classes for the next month, but after that, a lot more classes. So I hope to see a lot of you over the summer. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Libby.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
Bye.
Libby. Bye.
Sorry, this class was a bit messy for you.
Oh no, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry. Thank you guys for being patient. I really appreciate it.
No, it's your passion. You deserve